Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Today I was actually planning on putting a different subject, but I decided to change. My original subject was the death of Islam. However, I changed that title to the burial of Islam. Why I changed the name? The reason is Islam is actually dead since it was born. It was still born. It was dead before it was born, and therefore it shouldn't die. It's already dead. All what we need to do now is to bury it, and we have to bury it fast. And the reason is, anything dead, if it lingers around, it will create bad smell and unhealthy environment. And that is the situation of Islam. It is unhealthy for the world and for societies to have this foul smell and bad ideology lingering around. The subtitle to this main subject is Religion, Politics, Culture, and the Collective Mind of each of them. When we examine all societies, we find that it is divided to different cultures. So you have, for example, you have the Buddhist culture, you have the Islamic culture, you have the Christian culture, you have the Jewish culture, and so on and so forth. So culture, where does culture come from? Believe it or not, it comes from religion. Each culture is built around a book with certain sets of laws or a standard of morality in that book. So, for example, we have the Jewish people. They believe in the Old Testament, and that is primarily the Ten Commandments. They follow the Ten Commandments. And therefore, according to these commandments, they start to have a culture. They can feel comfortable with one another because they deal with one another based on this set of rules. They believe in it, they practice it, and therefore, when your neighbor is the same as you feel comfortable, and society start to develop, and it develops a culture centered on this kind of set of rule coming from that book. Okay, you have also the Buddhist. I don't know so much about Buddhism, but I was in Japan, and most Japanese are Buddhist, and believe it or not, the same. They don't have culture like in America or Europe, but if you live there, you feel it's a different culture. Why? Because they have different book, and their tradition, their way of life is centered around this set of rules and this book. Therefore, they develop a different culture. Even within Christianity, if you go to Europe and in the United States is primarily Protestant. However, Europe is primarily Catholic. Excuse me. And because of that, there are actually a slight difference in the European culture and in this hemisphere's culture, especially United States and Canada, which primarily, mostly especially United States, is Protestant. So even though the Bible is the same, but because the approach of the Bible is different, another culture was actually developed in the United States that it's slightly different from those who stayed in Europe, or Catholicism, the Catholics in Europe. And the same thing for the Muslims. They have the Sharia law, they have the Quran, they have the Hadith, they have the lifestyle of Muhammad, and they apply that into their daily life. Whether it's prayer, fasting, whatever they do, it is centered on these books and this way of thinking and this religion, and therefore they develop a different culture. So cultures normally are driven from a faith in a book. Even when we say atheists, they don't have a religion, but actually they have faith. They don't have a religion. Actually, we can say they have a religion because they believe, they believe that God does not exist. So if you believe, that indicates faith. The word, when you say I believe, that indicates faith. It's an automatic thing. So even the atheist who believe in the theory of evolution or what have you, they believe in a certain book or a certain principle that they gather around that, and they develop their own culture as well. Once a culture is developed, politics evolve. The way you relate with your neighbor, with your immediate neighbor, the way you relate to your brother and to your sister, to your father and to your mother, the way you relate to your children, that's all influenced by that book that you believe in. So you establish a culture from believing and following this book. Culture develops. Once culture develops, politics start to develop. You start to have politics to deal with your father, with those who are superior or higher, and those who are inferior or lower. You develop a way of relating to your peers, to your friends, to your brothers and sisters, to your family members, and how to relate to society, the immediate society, and then how to relate to the rest of the world. Politics, it is based on your set of beliefs. Whether it's Sharia law, the Ten Commandments, the teaching of Jesus, the theory of evolution, whatever you believe in, or your faith, you put your faith in, you develop a culture accordingly. Once the culture is developed, politics ensue. Politics start to develop, because once you have a way of thinking, a set of rules that you follow, you won't relate to people according to this set of belief. And from that, we developed what we call the collective mind of society, the collective mind of the Muslim, the collective mind of the Catholic, the collective mind of the atheist. Okay, that becomes the culture of that group, the collective mind. So if you go to a Muslim country, it will be very much different experience than going, let's say, to a Buddhist country or an atheist country, and so on and so forth. Why? Because they developed different culture because of the different book that they put their faith in. One thing here I want to emphasize, I don't mind many different cultures. Actually, many different cultures enrich us. My problem is with the culture of Islam. Why? It's not that I'm prejudiced, not at all. I come from a Muslim background. But because Islam is the only culture that if you do not follow Muhammad, then you are a target to be killed. Why? Because Muhammad said so. Hence, it has to be applied to you. See, in any religion or in any culture, let's say I live here in the United States. My neighbor, let's say he is Catholic and I'm not Catholic, so he will look at me and he says, you are not a believer in Catholicism. I would say, you are right, I don't believe in Catholicism, let's say. Or if he's Buddhist and I'm not Buddhist, he will tell me, oh, you don't believe in Buddhism. I would tell him, yes, it's true, I don't believe in Buddhism. And so on and so forth. Except if my neighbor is a Muslim. They don't say you don't believe. They say you are kafir. Kafir means you are an infidel. And that's not the problem, even if they call me an infidel. That's not the problem. The problem that is what this word entails. This word, when you are called an infidel, that means I can be murdered by any Muslim if I live in a Muslim country, or if Islam takes roots in the United States and they become the majority, they can murder me. Not only that, and by the way, that should be the norm. You know, they can kill me, and that's what religion says. Then they can rob my wealth, whatever I have becomes theirs. They can rape my wife, and they can enslave my children under the umbrella of Islam. And that's the danger. No other religion on earth is advocating anything of that nature other than Islam. And this is the culture of Islam. And this is the collective mind of Islam. I'm not saying all Muslims are practicing this, because probably you have one of your neighbor is a Muslim. But you see, there are two types of Muslims. A Muslim who really knows Islam inside out and he wants to practice it. This is the person that you should be afraid of. Because if he gains the upper hand, he will really slaughter you without having to think twice. Because that's what Muhammad told him to do. This is what his religion commanded him to do. This is what ISIS is doing. This is what Muhammad actually had done, to the surprise of many people, because some people think Muhammad was a good guy and was a holy man, but ISIS is just an extremist group. No, Muhammad was actually, what ISIS is doing, Muhammad did worse. Okay? And I'm not exaggerating. Read about Muhammad and history. Google. He did worse stuff than ISIS. He slaughtered people like they are chicken. He invaded their village, slaughtered people, surrendered. They didn't want to fight. They don't want to have anything to do with him. A Jewish village, they surrendered. That was not enough. He had between 600 to 900 men And if you were 13 years old, you were considered a man. These people were not fighting. He took them group by group, slaughtered them. He didn't do it himself. He gave the command to his army to do it. Slaughter the men. Between 600 to 900 Jewish men did not fight. They surrendered. Okay? He slaughtered them like chicken. And then he divided the women among his army to rape them. And he himself, he took the daughter of the chief of the tribe who was newly married. He killed her husband, her father, her brother, and all of her tribe, and he raped her on his way back home. He didn't even wait to see she might be pregnant from her husband. He didn't wait. So you're talking about terrorism. You're talking about ISIS. Where did ISIS bring all that murder and slaughter from? Don't go too far. Okay? Muhammad did worse. And this is not, by the way, this is not an attack on Muhammad or on Islam. This is reality. This is what happened in history. Okay? This is Islam, unedited. So there are two types of Muslims. Those who know Islam well and they will kill you like Muhammad did and like ISIS is doing, or the other one is ignorant Muslim. He just used his conscience to weigh things. Well, in a way he kind of like followed the 10 commandments. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't, the 10 commandments, they are good for any time. Actually, even it's good for atheists who don't believe in God. Nobody wants to kill anybody for no reason. Alright? So that person is a peaceful Muslim, but I wouldn't count on it so much because I don't know. Each Muslim is a time bomb. We don't know when these peaceful Muslim, ignorant Muslim of what Muhammad is teaching, if one day decide to join the group of jihad and terrorism and go to Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan and join these what they call extremists. I call them true Muslims. He goes and joins the true Muslim to fight and to slaughter people and to rape women and children. Muhammad raped a 9 years old girl, took her as a wife. And the excuse that the Muslim clerk use these days because they know it's shameful, they know it is sick, they say, oh, but this was the culture back then. That was normal then. Yes, but you are coming as a teacher of morality, Mr. Muhammad. You are coming and you are claiming that you are coming as the seal of the prophets who brings the ultimate standard of purity, love, forgiveness. Are you coming to follow what's here, or you are coming with a standard of higher morality and purity? You are doing worse than the average common, not even, you are doing worse than a criminal. We have to actually stand up, all of us collectively, and fight this ultimate evil. I call Islam, not the Muslims. Okay, Islam, this ideology is the ultimate evil. and we have a moral obligation, all of us, like it or not. We have a moral obligation to fight this evil. Okay? I really disliked it so much after September 11th when President George Bush, the former president, said Islam is a peaceful religion and these people are they don't represent Islam. No, these are the true Muslims. These are really trying to emulate the standard of Muhammad and Muhammad's teaching. Okay? These are not radical. These are the true Muslims. This is what Islam commands them to do. To any infidel, as long as you are not Muslim, they will do that to you and to me. So it's better to die standing up together than living slaves to these guys on our knees. We have to face them, even if we are to be killed. It doesn't matter. We have to have this resolve, because if we don't, they will hang us separately. They will kill us one by one. They will enter each country and divide and conquer. There's a hadith. Hadith, by the way, means narration from Muhammad. Something Muhammad said, that he was victorious by terror. He was made victorious by terror, by terrorizing people. So that is a method that the follower of Muhammad's, the true Muslims, are doing now. That's their tactic. They go to Syria and they terrorize people. They put fear and intimidation into their hearts so that they will accept any condition they put on them. It's okay, I will accept anything. You want me to become Muslim? I become Muslim. You want me to bow down to you? I'll bow down to you and to Muhammad. That happened in the beginning of history of Islam. Those who bowed to Muhammad and to Islam became slaves. Don't bow. Stand up. Fight. It doesn't have to be physical fight. Although if it comes to that, you have to fight physically too. Alright? But at least start the fight intellectually. Do something on YouTube, on Facebook. Spread the knowledge that this ideology is evil and it has to be stopped, and quickly. It is really more serious than many people here in the West know. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon.